Red Ray Gun Limited presents
the entertainment highlight of the week. The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
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 Good morning.
Good day.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Good to be here.
Good night.
Good boxes behind you.
Good TARDIS on the wall.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Loch Ness.
Well done.
See?
I wasn't prepared.
Did you see the joy, the unrestrained joy that I experienced there?
Well, it's been a while since you
Did you just let me have it?
let you have it. Yeah. So I'm so distracted by emails.
Well, anyway, look, that was the Loch Ness game. It's not about Loch Ness, and it's not a game. And I'm not Benji.
And I'm not Nick, but this is the Benji and Nick Show, your number one cult television podcast in the British Isles and also the world.
Ooh,
the rest of the world as well. I just wanted an
yes.
excuse to say the British Isles, really.
The British Isles.
The British Isles. This is the largest sale of furniture in the British Isles. DFS. What are we covering today, Nick?
Well, we're talking about The Persuaders, starring Roger Moore and Tony Curtis, Episode 1, Overture by Brian Clemens, the late, great, marvellous Brian Clemens. I know his son, Sam, well, one of his sons. And it was probably by Roger Moore and Tony Curtis as well, judging by the amount of improv going on during Jamie Anderson assures us he'll be popping along, although the chances of him being able to top the excellence of last week's food banter, they are low. The chances are low. Something last week... you attempted Last of the Summer Wine, didn't you?
I did,
on your
yes.
mouth organ. Then afterwards, you sent me the first phrase of it complete, but it was too late for me to include in the edit. Can you do it now, or should I just edit that in?
I'll
Benji?
try, but it was quite tricky to do.
Is this just going to be another? Just tuning up, folks. Anytime you like. Going to be am I going to just edit in the file you sent me?
Yeah, just edit the file in. I can't do it. I deleted it from my mind. Once I'd mastered it, I just deleted it. I thought I could remember that you go up, then you go back, then yeah. I don't know. It was a butchering anyway. Done it.
In a moment, your emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. But first, just want to mention that the Benji and Nick Show is proud to be sponsored by The Village Shop, the online e-store run by the Unmutual website, and Coit Media Limited. It's your one-stop shop for all things Prisoner, Dangerman, and Patrick McGowan, including DVDs, Blu-rays, books, CDs, smiling too much, audio dramas, clothing, photos, homeware, and gifts. None of those other things are gifts. They're just your right. New items are added weekly. Benji and Nick Show listeners, that's you folks, you can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases by using the code LOCHNESS10, LOCHNESS10. No spaces. All the letters are capitals. Use that at the checkout. A further donation will also be made to Hope House Children's Hospice at no extra cost to you, which I think is rather marvellous. The address of the site is www.theprisonershop.co.uk. Let's have a look at that. While Benji's looking that up, just remind you there's another code you can use at the checkout. You old fool. All capitals. That's not an insult to you, sorry. All capital letters, no spaces. And that allows you to enjoy a 40% bus count. I nearly read that out correctly. You can get a bus stop. 40% discount on the Callan File, the definitive guide to the classic, marvellous, stupendous series that I've been watching again, written by Robert Fairclough and Mike Kenwood. That's the book. Obviously, the series was written and created by James Mitchell and other great writers. What have you found on The Prisoner?
I found a Gloriette replica model kit. It's gorgeous. It caught my eye. So basically, in Port Merion, it's sort of one of the structures there. The Gloriette. It's seen in lots of several of the episodes. You'd recognise it if you saw it, Nick. It's the wonderful tall building with the pillars.
And it's got like a stage there.
Yeah,
that's where Free for All, where he was campaigning to be number 2.
That's exactly. It's where the exhibition's inside, isn't it, or something like that?
Oh well, No, I don't think
that shows what I know. Sorry to everybody.
No, actually, that was a bit on the back lot at Pinewood or somewhere. No, Elstree. Who knows what we're talking about? Anyway, there you are, the Prisoner Shop. By the way, there's another website you might like to go to. I'm not at all partisan in mentioning this. It's called nicholasbriggs.com.
That's the one.
There's all sorts of things there, photographs and pictures and DVDs and CDs, and I will sign them for you at no extra cost if you feel that doesn't bring the value down on them. Anyway,
some man scribbled on my book.
I would like to also mention before we go into the emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com that I've been watching Ashes to Ashes.
Funk to Funky, we know Major Tom's a junkie.
Tom's a junkie. So anyway, which I'd never seen before. I watched the whole of Life on Mars and enjoyed that. And I really, this is controversial saying it to Benji because he really has a problem with Keeley Hawes. And I am finding her mesmerising. I'm late to the party with Keeley Hawes. I mean, I've always thought she was good, but people are really keen on her, and she's just amazing.
I think it's just, I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it.
What don't you like about her?
I don't know. I think it's probably just down to the character. It might just be that. It was just my whole experience of her started in this, and so maybe I just need to, because she was absolutely fantastic in Bodyguard. To be fair, she was, but I think it's just I just don't like the character of what's her name in it. Is it
Alex Drake?
Alex Drake, that's it. Yeah, I just don't.
My name's Alex Drake, and I've been shot through the head
multiple times by a junkie on the Isle of Dogs. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to give it another go. I know that by the third series, it's superb.
They did 3 series of it, did they?
They did, I believe so.
Oh my goodness!
I'll double check. I'm pretty sure because I remember that.
Well, I'm watching it as fast as possible before they remove it from iPlayer.
Yeah, they did three series.
Wow, it's full of so much sexism and racism. I can't believe.
It's on BritBox, I believe.
It's on BritBox, Netflix, and iPlayer, but I'm watching it on iPlayer because we've only got one sign into Netflix, and when my son wants to watch Netflix, every time I start watching Netflix, he comes up the stairs and goes, "Daddy, are you watching Netflix?" Yes. All right, I'll stop.
I think you can watch it with you can. Oh, maybe not. You can do multiple people on the Netflix menu. At the start accounts, and then different people can watch at different times.
At the same time.
Pretty sure they can, yeah.
Well, that's not how it works in our house with our internet.
How strange.
Anyway, I also did you watch Ice Station Zebra? I told you that was on iPlayer.
I haven't, but that's because I think we should cover it on here, so it might be the ideal.
Well, no, I watched it, and I just thought it's interesting. I remember it being really good, but it's only good in the last half hour, really.
That's unfortunate.
It's an oddly dull film, considering it's a Cold War spy and military thriller. It's got very odd music. It's got a great central theme.
But ultimately, it got
but the rest of the music
cold
is
reception.
Kind of, well, yeah, haha. The rest of the music is really oddly undramatic and inappropriate, and there are vast sections of really tense bits in the movie that are completely undermined by having no music whatsoever on them.
Yeah, just too much.
But I would be actually really interested in your point of view, so maybe we should look at it.
Could be good. I mean, I've been watching watching A Low from the very beginning.
Hello.
I've not watched it, sat down and watched it for years, but it's very, very good, actually. I forgot how funny it was. I mean, it's just... Well,
it's the reason we can't watch Secret Army.
Well, it is. It's complete... Well, that's what, actually, interestingly enough, that's what led me to getting into A Low again, because a friend of ours, Joseph Lidstow, a fantastic writer, he was watching Secret Army, and I said, oh, yeah. And so I dug out the Secret Army DVDs and started watching it again, but I just couldn't get into it. But for some reason in the back of my mind, I just wanted to watch A Low. And I did, and it's just gag a minute. It's so funny. Every line is just perfection.
Yeah, it just makes Secret Army unwatchable.
It really does.
It's also got John Banks in it, A Low.
As in,
John Banks,
John
used to work a lot for Big Finish a lot.
No way.
As a voice actor.
Lovely man, yeah. Great.
Should we get into the emails? Shall I read the first one?
Yeah, read the first one, Nick.
The title, the subject is Planet of the Daleks meets BBC documentary this week.
Yes, you've sent
Dean
this to
Harrison.
me. Very good. Yeah, good old Dean.
Dear Nick and Benji. Oh, this was, by the way, sent on the 8th of July in the year 1145.
Thank you.
Incredible. We love our time travelling
Email
listeners. Dear Nick and Benji, your recent commentaries and the recent arrival of a shiny Season 10 Blu-ray set prompted me to watch Planet of the Daleks. If you don't know what Season 10 means, it means Doctor Who in 1973. Okay. Watching for the first time in years. First off, I checked for the head bobbing up and down behind a cabinet, and in HD, because Benji and I were amazed when we saw this reflection of a head moving, and we were going, look! We're so excited to see something we'd never seen before in an episode we'd watched at least 50,000 times. And in HD, I think you can see what is going on, what is going off, a little clearer, as it looks like this head is a reflection of someone behind the camera line reflecting off of the perspex. I'm always slightly thrown by the construction off of. It's off of the perspex rather than off the perspex. Anyway, but the thing that made me write in was I also watched an interesting documentary, Pluto, Back from the Dead, which shows the discovery of an ice volcano on Pluto. The thing that got me most is that it looked like the ice had moved more like lava, but the scientists couldn't figure out how, as at the temperatures concerned the water should have been as hard as granite. Then they spotted evidence of ammonia, and apparently ammonia mixed with water drops lowers the melting point of ice, so you get the viscous substance similar to the what the effects department came up with for episode 3 in the allotrope of ice. Yeah, so clearly someone at the BBC had figured out how an ice volcano might work decades before one was actually discovered. I'm just a little worried now that 10,000 Daleks might be hiding out on Pluto. Cheers, Dean Harrison. Well, that's because there's this sort of basically wallpaper paste version of
sludge,
ice.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they have in Planet of the Daleks an allotrope of ice. That's brilliant, that. So on Pluto, there's an allotrope of ice.
Good Lord. It's just incredible, isn't it, really? It just goes to show science knows no bounds. Thanks for that one, Dean. We've got here podcast questions as the subject. This is from Nathan Martin, sent on the 8th of the 7th, 2020, in the year of our Lord, 1557.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
What happened that year? Well, who knows? Hi, Nick and Benji. I've listened to the podcast from the very beginning, but never emailed in before. I thought I would just share a few of the pictures of the steps I've taken to brighten up my days working from home, and how my my recent purchase from nicholasbriggs.com has been part of this. As pictures aren't really podcast-friendly material, I thought I'd best also answer your latest set of questions.
We'll have a look at the pictures in a minute. Yeah.
What are your favourite vintage TV viewing? What is your favourite vintage TV viewing on a hot summer's day? Answer this one is recent rewatch of The Goodies.
Goodies.
Fantastic. Goody, yum, yum. Was it Goodies and the Giant? Used to be a favourite of mine growing up. I think it's that one where they've got where they have to go into they've got the golden eggs or something.
Oh yeah, often repeated.
But the perennial favourite is The Five Doctors. What a classic.
And they're chased by huge flying geese who drop the golden eggs on them, I think. And they make that typical BBC. And the explosions are the same as the Dalek blowing up in Death to the Daleks. That's how sad I am.
He knows. He just knows. He knows. I like the idea that the giant geese dropping the eggs was actually a part of The Five Doctors.
It should have been.
We're in the death zone.
These flying geese are everywhere.
One of my predecessors. What's your favourite vintage TV theme tune? Answer this one. The Avengers by Laurie Johnson. It's the ringtone on my phone, which sometimes means calls go unanswered because I just have to let it play. Yeah, don't blame you. Do not blame you at all. Who are your favourite vintage TV stars? That great roster of guest actors who crop up in every series during the 60s and 70s. Edwin Richfield, Philip Maddox, Wanda Ventham, Roy Stewart, Bernard Horsfall, yes, our old mucker himself, Patrick Newell, and yes, even Prentice Hancock.
Oh, the most amazing actor in Christendom. I don't think you and your friend know the Doctor know what's going on, or whatever it was he said in Planet of Evil.
What is the most blatant use of stock footage you've ever seen? The Vogan rocket taking off in Revenge of the Cybermen. Yeah, that is very blatant.
A number of people mentioned that. It's blatantly says NASA on the side.
Yeah, that's... It's funny, isn't it?
Launch the Sky Striker from Cape Kennedy.
Whenever missiles are launched, it's just sort of stock footage of either rockets from NASA, missiles from sort of Cold War military bases, or battleships.
Yeah.
It's always that, isn't it? And it's usually really grainy and rubbish black and white footage.
Yes, it's just blatant.
Sometimes tinted with a colour to make it look okay on colour telly.
Okay, in inverted commas.
Yeah. What is the worst use of CSO or chroma key that you can think of? Doctor Who Underworld episodes 2 and 4. Absolutely. God.
Totally.
Diabolical.
Absolutely.
Just sort of dross, really. Why does Marty Hopkirk cast a shadow when he's actually a ghost?
I like your sophisticated analysis there. It's just dross, really.
Well, it is, let's be honest. Why not? Who makes up the rules about what ghosts can and can't do? Well, I think you'll find the Ghost Council actually make up those rules. There's a whole structure of ghost-based laws and things they have to abide by, just like have you heard they've outlawed the phrase "woo"? They said it's just too much of a cliche. Yeah. Ghosts can't do
stereotyping.
that. Yeah, it is stereotyping. What is the greatest of all time television vehicle? Answer to that one is the TARDIS, of course. Runners up are the 60s Batmobile and the Enterprise Original and D. I was watching. I turned on the telly this morning just briefly whilst I was eating my Weetabix. And important detail.
Yes, thank you. Did you have orange juice with that?
I ran out of orange juice, so I just had a cup of tea.
Okay.
But basically, I turned it on, and it said, I had a quick look, and it was Star Trek, the original series was on. And I knew immediately, it was the one with the space hippies. And I knew immediately, before even seeing the plot, I knew immediately what series or season it was, because of William Shatner's slightly more podgy belly and slightly tighter uniform. I thought, oh crikey, that, and it just gets worse and worse as it goes along, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like the second to last episode that I can't remember what the title was. And that I feel awful. Was it Journey to? No, it wasn't Journey to Babel. That's a different
pretty rubbish.
I don't think that was the title.
Yes, it was.
No, on BBC One, Star Trek, pretty rubbish. Turnabout Intruder was the final episode where Kirk becomes a scorned ex-girlfriend of his manages to get control of his body, and so William Shatner goes round the Enterprise being all sort of camp and vicious.
And that was the point that they decided it would not be a good idea to keep making this show.
I mean,
it's
what
all got
a terrible
far too
episode
silly.
to go out on. That was just ridiculous. But the one before, it was the one before. And they're all going to a hippie planet, but one of them's got a terrible disease or something. Anyway, and he has an enormous earlobes.
Yes,
not an enormous
ridiculous
earlobe. Two enormous earlobes. But imagine just having one enormous earlobe. You'd keep falling over, wouldn't you?
Well, I think, you'd always be looking like that, wouldn't you, with a sort of cricked neck?
Yeah. Sorry about my enormous earlobe.
It cost a fortune with earrings. Continuing.
He's got a load in, I think, hasn't he?
It says, I would include the Liberator, but I have my own personal struggle with this design. As a lad, I had a die-cast corgi toy of the Liberator, which I enjoyed playing with, but I'm not sure I watched the show. I was too young. Years later, I finally watched the show on VHS and discovered for years that I'd been flying the Liberator back to front. No, oh dear.
Can you do the Blake 7 theme back to front?
Well, on the harmonica.
No, back to front then. No, back to front. You have to do it in the room. I love the expression you pulled when you did that.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think we've all basically when they were making Blake 7, they said, I like that, but it looks a bit like that. It looks a bit like that other ship. So hold on a minute. Turn it round. There we go.
Turn it around.
Nobody will know. Nobody will know. Either that or they've just jammed the gears the wrong way and it was stuck in reverse. I'd always imagined the green bulbous part to be the bridge section and the 3 prongs to be the, what is that word? The nacelles of the Enterprise. I still get confused about that to this very day. Thanks for all the hours of entertainment you provided. Keep up the great work.
You see the pictures from his
they're
office.
fab. They look brilliant, don't they?
They're incredible. There's a Scratch Man poster. There's also a poster, I think there's a poster of me as you see there, as an audio doctor on the first one, right in the middle, the black and white one in the middle.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
Was that purchased from
It was
Nicholas
purchased from
Briggs?
nicholasbriggs.com.
There
yes.
we go. Lovely bit
Right,
of artwork.
next email. Thank you for that. Did Catweasel become a Nazi?
Aye.
Oh, God,
Aye,
no.
boy. She cowboy.
Right, this was sent on the 7th of July in the year 0010 from Neil Allen. What are you going on about, Neil? Hi guys, some answers to your questions. 1, what's your favourite TV show to watch on a hot summer's day? Tenko. It won a special BAFTA for perspiration acting. 2, favourite vintage TV theme? I, Claudius. Was that snake in the titles real? Of course it was. 3, favourite vintage star? William Hartnell. He could play both a fool and an old fool, all in the same scene. Pure class. You fool, you old fool. Very funny, very funny. 4, blatant use of stock footage. The Vogan Sky Striker rocket from Revenge of the Cybermen. Oh, we got a match here. It was obviously an Apollo rocket and wasn't even made of gold. 5, worst use of back projection. Oh, James Bond driving his car and Dr. No. The steering wasn't even close to what the background was showing.
Dreadful.
Dreadful. Have it like Airplane with cowboys and Indians riding past. 6, what causes the shadow of Randall and Hopkirk? Mary Whitehouse. She insisted they keep the shadows in or the show would become too scary and realistic, which in her view would result in small children trying to kill their best friend so that they could turn them into ghosts and go on exciting adventures fighting small-time criminals with the ghost of the now dead best friend. And Mary's action could have single-handedly saved Nick from being turned into a ghost by his school friends from the Isle of Wight. That's yes, that's a whole other story. 7, greatest TV vehicle? Postman Pat's red van. It brings letters and parcels and helps Jess get the cat around.
Greendale.
And helps Jess the cat get around. That's actually the words from the song, isn't it?
I was thinking that is it Norman Price from Postman Pat? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm
not an expert.
pretty sure he was based almost unapologetically on Curly Watts from Coronation Street, even down to the name Norman. Look at him, just compare the two and you'll see it.
I'm not going to. Last thing, says Neil, I've just finished watching the 1958 film The Two-Headed Spy. It's apparently a true story of a British spy who single-handedly wins the Second World War by pretending to be a top Nazi general who undermines their war effort with the help of his driver Catweasel, Geoffrey Paleton. I'm not sure it's the same character, but it could be Catweasel in World War II. Yeah, I've seen the film. It's rather good, actually. It's quite horrible in places for a 1958 film. There's a bit where someone's tortured to death with water. It's ghastly. It's not actually. I can't tell you where they stick the hose, but it's not family friendly. Thanks for putting such a wonderfully warm show out there every week. All the best, Neil, even though we were talking about water torture. Okay, it's time to talk about the Persuaders.
If I ever become successful to the point where I get to be chauffeured around, I would like a driver called Catweasel. You can just imagine it, can't you? Catweasel, do you mind pulling up over here, please? Oh, don't mind my driver. He's just Catweasel. Oh, is he going to get better? No, that's his name. Anyway, yes. Sorry, I just wanted to.
Well, you imagine the smell in the car would be terrible.
I don't want a bath.
Right.
Well, the
Yeah,
Persuaders. Bam, 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 bam.
First episode, Overture.
Dun, dun. Well, fantastic location work. Very expensive. Looks absolutely gorgeous thanks to network television's fantastic restoration work of the film stuff. If a tad dated, not just not just in its look, but certainly in pretty much every element of the way it's handled. But I would say, if I can sum it up, absolute great fun. Just great fun.
Yeah. I mean, for the first 14 minutes, I thought, I just can't watch this dross. But then it sort of just kicked into being a great story, and Roger Moore and Tony Curtis are really stylish in it. They're referred to at one point as two young men.
Young men? Well, they are two young men, I think.
Are they that young during this?
I mean,
How old were they?
Octopussy was on the telly last night, and I saw Roger Moore in that. So he's definitely a young man in this compared to what he was in Octopussy.
But Roger Moore, he's got his trouser belt right up, almost right under his nipples, hasn't he? It's just ridiculous to keep, and he's got a bit of a tum on him. And the two of them are strolling around and just constantly ogling young girls. I don't know why one of them doesn't stop and punch them in the face. They're just blatantly
It was
going,
the bit at the beginning that really
nice.
did it for me. Is when he's in that car with a young girl, bends over, kisses her. She gets out the car, and then there's three others in the back, all completely okay with the fact that he's just been necking with some filly in the front. And so she, it's just, you think, crikey. But yeah, I mean, it is incredibly sexist.
It's from a different era. When was it actually made? Do you know?
I think it was 1970. It would have been made. It's the earliest, 1972.
Yeah, it's just before he became James Bond.
I looked up before the podcast. It's the last job he did before becoming James Bond.
I think that's what I just said, isn't it?
It is. I just said I looked it up, as in.
Oh right.
That's what you were saying is correct.
Thank you.
I was giving you a great bit of.
You were bigging
kudos
me
for
up.
getting. Oh yes, bigging. Only ran for one series. Interesting enough, probably because he went off to be James Bond.
Yeah. It's probably too expensive as well. Although you'll notice a huge drop in quality of location filming when you get to the next episode. The next episode, which I watched last night, a non-restored version, so it looks like it's being cleaned up with a Brillo pad. Loads of stock footage of Cannes in it, and then straight onto the back lot or into someone's garden for the close-ups. You know what I mean? It's
I mean, even with this episode, there's a stark contrast, isn't there, between the early parts of it where they're all around, Monaco, gorgeous cars and roads and hotels, and then the latter half, which is all in in the basement and the wine cellars and all that business.
Yes, all
and
on
they
the
look
sets.
it looks a bit sort of, it looks very
generic,
generic and setty, doesn't it, compared to everything else. But you can't have unlimited money. But in terms of the way it looks, I think it looks incredibly expensive, and it's wonderfully colourful, isn't it?
Yes.
It's very
I mean, they were
much
trying to make
70s.
it look like it's like a big old caper movie, but sort of cut down to 50 minutes, really. And it's amazing casting those two. I think they had problems about who'd get top billing, and apparently they sorted that by. Because it says Moore and Curtis and Moore, and they swapped it round between episodes. I think that's how the story goes. I don't know whether that's actually true, but that I think is what they were told to placate them. There's a lot of improvisation, isn't there? They do a lot of scenes where they keep the camera angle wide, and Roger Moore and Tony Curtis are kind of moving around in the scene and saying things to each other that you kind of think, I don't think they knew what they were going to say. There's a lot of made up.
Oh, it's like it's like when they're
non-scripted
pretending
stuff
to be drunk, and I'm certain that Roger Moore says some gag in there, and you can tell he doesn't quite get a reaction, and so he just sort of falls over and messes around. But I remember I was watching it, and I remember at the time thinking, that wasn't in the script. He's playing to an audience there. But I mean, really, when you look at it, it's one big jolly, isn't it? You've got you've got the expenses of obviously going abroad to France and Italy and everywhere else. Also, as well as that, you've got Tony Curtis and Roger Moore just having a lovely time.
Yeah.
And enjoying all the elements of that, really. I mean, I wonder how Tony Curtis felt when Roger Moore, after this, rocketed into James Bond and became the man for years. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are lots of stories about Tony Curtis being really difficult during the filming. Apparently, he could have his difficult days. But generally was nice. We saw. Were you at that convention in Elstree where they were talking about that? One of the actresses was talking about that.
Possibly. I'd certainly. Yeah. I think. Maybe I can't remember. I was too busy just enjoying the whole experience to remember the details of everything. But just too busy having fun. But it just goes to show, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't, certainly in this, it doesn't show. It just looks like they're larking around and enjoying being with each other, I think, really.
Yeah. I'm for the first 14 minutes I was going to give it 1 exclamation mark, but actually I'm going to give it 4.
Oh, it definitely gets a 4 from me. I was debating it and thinking, well, what do I don't think it's anything. I don't think it like sets the world on fire in terms of like this particular episode's plots and stuff like that. I think I found at times I was losing interest because it was sort of just there's a lot of larking around. But it's just done with such style and class and enjoyability, and obviously the music's superb.
Yes, the theme tune's incredible, and also the incidental music. There's an awful pop song at the beginning, isn't it?
Oh gosh, terrible vocals on that. And it might as well be a music video because it's the whole song. The whole song, isn't it?
Yeah, with a car chase where they behave like complete juvenile idiots and race each other on a public road. That's they are behaving like children. They keep having fights, don't they, in the restaurant? And by the time they get to the second fight, the waiter, it's done in a sort of really weird sequence of crossfades with the head waiter, the maitre d', getting progressively more drunk out of despair, isn't he? They must have just done endless shots of him drinking, and where you see Tony Curtis flying through the air in slow motion. It's quite hilarious.
Great. I mean, it's done very well, isn't it? And
the guy who plays their boss also was famous for playing the Captain Smith on the Titanic in A Night to Remember. And what's his name? Lawrence Naismith.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yep.
Yeah, he does the outrageous thing of when he first meets them, he pretends to be disabled and is in a wheelchair for the first few meetings, and then the third meeting he just gets up and walks out of it. He said, "Oh, it came with the house." And you think, can't imagine that happening these days. But what do you think about it? I suppose it was to make them less suspicious of him, that he was more vulnerable.
Absolutely. It is odd. I mean, the whole idea itself is pretty odd, isn't it? Ex-judge decides to get revenge by employing 2 random blokes who happen to be incredibly good at their jobs.
Yes, it's a Brian Clemens plot through and through. Bless his cotton socks. It's just. I imagine Terry Nation, the executive script consultant or whatever he was, gave Brian about a week to write it. Yeah, you can do that, can't you, Brian? Because they were old mates. I hear that Brian used to complain that Terry used to nick all his ideas. Apparently, Brian wrote a series proposal for something called The Survivors. Not Survivors.
Way. Really?
Yeah. And he maintained until his death that Terry Nation nicked the idea off him and got it made by the BBC.
That's crazy.
So it's interesting to talk to the Clemens family about Terry Nation. I'm not saying any of this is true, all right? I'm just saying it's what people have said to me.
All speculation.
Brian didn't like. Brian thought Terry nicked some of his ideas.
I mean, I'd be pretty peeved if I'd come up with Survivors and then found that it had been pinched, and then did really well.
Yeah. Brian also asked to write, or was interested in writing for Doctor Who, and it just never happened.
That should have happened, really.
It should have happened.
I think. I think it would have been absolutely perfect for the sort of John Pertwee Earthbound stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
Sam sent me an old memo from Brian to his agent recently, sort of, which said, any movement on me writing for Doctor Who, sort of thing, back in the 70s. So yeah.
If only. Interesting enough, this particular entry, it's a shame we haven't got Rick Davey, our ITC man.
Well, he suggested this, didn't he?
He certainly did, yeah. But it says certainly here that this is the last major entry into the cycle of adventure series that began 11 years earlier with Danger Man in 1960. So in a way, we're seeing the last of this breed of television, really.
Definitely. Yes, it's the death of rampant sexism. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't, but yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the last of its kind, I suppose.
I was sitting watching it, and I was thinking to
Please
myself,
write in to disagree.
Isn't it interesting how, like, with these ITC productions, it looks so good. Television looks fantastic. For that American market, it looks gorgeous. And it's funny, isn't it, how quality, you know, we get through the 60s with these high quality visual things, and then suddenly you're in the 70s with really crummy looking sort of cheap television series. It's just interesting how nothing continued the quality of ITC.
That's true. We've been joined by Jamie Anderson.
And I joined it sounded like you said sheep television series.
There is a sheep television series. It's called what was
One
that
Man and His Dog.
One Man and His Dog. What was that? What was that sheep called in Wallace and Gromit?
Sean.
Shaun the Sheep. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
An award-winning television series about a sheep that doesn't talk.
The Farmer's Llamas.
How are you, Jamie?
I'm fine. Look at your background, Nick Briggs, all boxed up like you're moving house or something.
Yeah, I'm moving house. This is the last podcast from the shed.
And what will happen then? Will you be on the street doing the podcast, or
Side of the M25 in the gutter? Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be in the back bedroom for a while before I get a new shed built at the new place.
Oh, a new shed? Not you won't be in the West Wing, or.
Unfortunately, it's not quite that big.
Damn it!
It's just a semi-detached house. Let's not go.
Well, I'm looking forward to the housewarming.
Yeah, here we could have a Creo scream.
I don't know what that means.
It's the drink from the Persuaders that we watched earlier.
Oh, yeah, but does it have one olive or two?
One olive or two.
Which
I
is
love it when two olives rub against each other. That was the.
I see.
That's what Tony Curtis and Roger Moore had a huge punch-up about in the first episode of the Persuaders.
About their olives rubbing together.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much.
They just had a big disagreement about how many olives to go in what's it called, a Creo scream?
A Creo scream.
Why is it called that?
And they trashed an entire restaurant because of this disagreement.
Every time
there was a punch. Yeah, it's indeed, yeah. So when we disagreed about how many bitters should go into the Hammer of God.
Yeah, that's it. Or, you know, an old-fashioned should always have whiskey, not tequila, none of this modern stuff. Tequila old-fashioned, who do you think you are? Yeah. Anyway, that.
So we've got very little time because I have to go and collect my son from school.
Oh, leave him there, he'll be fine.
He might learn something.
Exactly. How old is he now? 24? Should be looking after
11.
Himself.
He's 11 now.
Well, that's 24 revolutions of some planet around the sun somewhere. So
That's very true. In dog years, he's probably about 24, isn't he?
Yes, he has got dog ears, yes.
And a tail.
Cue dad jokes. Yeah.
I'm a dad. It's fine.
Yeah, you can do it. You could officially get away with it.
Are you seeing my face looking all pink, Jamie, because of this rubbish new webcam I've got?
Well, it's weird because you're pink, but you've also got a green hue around your edges, so it makes you look even pinkier.
It's weird. I can't do anything to alter the settings. It's most frustrating.
Oh. Well, you could put a Quality Street wrapper glued over the camera to give us just a kind of sepia tone. If you took a toffee penny, for instance.
Do you know,
if only I had your practical outlook on life.
My granddad was he was colourblind, and he used to work in the bank.
So are you?
And have trouble. So am I. Not as bad as him though. But he used to have trouble differentiating between the notes. Yes. When he was counting quickly.
So he was tone deaf as well.
Very good. Very good. So he applied his Royal Engineers training, and he got two different toffee wrappers, made some glasses out of them, and the changes actually helped him to differentiate the colours.
I'm sure you've told us that story before.
Probably. It's a good story.
I've not heard it before, so I'm fully appreciative of it.
It's quite a nifty
Sorry,
one.
Sorry, I've never heard that before. That's brilliant.
Much better. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, just handy tips for people. Oh
no,
looks great. Looks a bit like Gary Newman, doesn't he?
Gary, you would love that. I've just realised what's happening back here.
Oh, crikey.
His trousers are down.
Good
shown,
Lord.
Captain Scarlet's trousers are down.
Captain
Here in
Scarlet's
my
down.
SPV on the...
He must have been having dinner with Colonel White, and things got a bit out of hand.
the Colonel got a bit
There's
amorous.
some serious fan fiction stuff going on here. What's it called when you... No, let's not get into this. Anyway.
Filth,
Shipping.
that's what it's called. Filth.
Unadulterated
Have we got anything
filth.
to ask of Jamie before we decide what to do next week? I think we're going to have to watch Ice Station Zebra, aren't we?
Yeah, I think Ice Station Zebra
And
is...
there's a strange link with Jamie through his father because there's a lot of interesting model work in Ice Station Zebra,
Oh, is there?
which is very much of the sort of Thunderbird's high standard, actually. There's some fantastic submarine stuff. But also, all the Arctic stuff is all on a set. And it's an enormous set, but it still manages to look like it's made of plastic and is only 3 foot wide. But
Classy.
so we're going to watch Ice Station Zebra.
Nice.
Sounds like a good
Or
idea.
Benji is. I might have a look at it again. I've only just watched it, so I don't know whether I can sit through it again.
I was just going to have a quick flick through to see if there are any familiar faces in there.
Rock Hudson, Patrick McGowan,
No,
in Ice Station
I was
Zebra.
thinking
Ernest Borgnine.
the art directors or set
Oh,
decorators,
right.
but I can't see any names in there
No.
I recognise. No, afraid not.
I think it was in America. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know that Patrick McGowan took time off The Prisoner to go and film it, which is why there's an episode of The Prisoner that has number 6 changing body.
So you could go, and that's interesting.
Nigel Stock played the part for an episode called Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling.
Good knowledge.
Yeah, well, I've written 3 series of The Prisoner, so I've researched it a
You've
bit.
done some research.
Apart from that one episode where you had to go off and film something, so you ended up getting somebody else to replace your body to write it.
and direct it.
By Ron Jones as Nicholas Briggs.
Ron Jones, yes. He used to direct Doctor Who.
That must have been why it popped into my mind.
He's no longer with us, sadly. Well, it's certainly not in my shed. So that's what we're doing next time.
Good.
Anything you want to add, Jamie? Probably not.
Oh, no, not really. Just to let you know, you should never give up.
Look at that. A
Could you explain what that was?
I'm
that
holding
visual?
an acrylic block with some Thunderbirds characters on the phrase "Never give up." I don't know why. It just appeared in my postbox this morning. I'm not sure where it's
Did
from
it?
or why I've got it, but it's lovely.
Well, never
it
give
from-
up trying to find out.
Is it from the Thunderbirds movie?
No, it's one of our designs from the Jerry Anderson store, but somebody's put it on an acrylic block. It's lovely.
That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really cool.
Oh,
Is it
I
heavy?
just had a text from Boots telling me my prescription's arrived.
Oh. Well, I've just had a text from DHL saying that.
You know,
I've got
the
a
funniest thing
delivery
is
due.
I've just had a text from DHL as well. How peculiar.
Can I introduce you to my friend here, Mr. DHL?
Hello, I've just sent you both a text.
What a great voice he's
Oh,
got.
nice man. He's the honey monster.
Thank you very much. I've just got to go and do some deliveries. Goodbye.
Bye, Mr. DHL.
Thanks for coming.
DHL was played by Louis Armstrong.
I just hope that DHL decide to sponsor this podcast. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
If they
I don't think I'd want them to sponsor this podcast because
It'd never arrive.
It'd never arrive. Yeah, they'd never
It'd just
give
be
us the
left in
sponsor
the
money.
back garden when you didn't know it was there. Where's the podcast? It's down the passageway. I'm going to move close to the microphone and say thank you for listening.
Thank you for
to send
listening.
your emails to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com.
Don't forget to send them. Well, from me, it's goodbye.
DHL. Goodbye.
Yes, goodbye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.